Hey guys, we're going to talk about motivation today. Start the new unit, Unit 8A, and we're going to start with theories. So, let's get going. Now, when we think of theories, we think of specific thing. Each theory is driven. Wow, this is taking forever to load. Here we go. Theories are driven by certain questions. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's start with defining it. Motivation is a need or desire that energizes behavior and directs it towards a goal. Okay. Your keywords here, I think, are energizes behavior and directs toward a goal. So behavior is pushed. I got this emphasized for you here. Pushed by something internally in or pulled by something externally. This should make a lot of sense to you, right? Someone else is outside of your body. They're pulling you to get you to go somewhere with them, right? Something inside your body is driving you towards it, pushing you towards it. This should just make sense in your brain, but if it doesn't, let me know. And you're always satisfying a drive or a need. Now, these two words are very different, okay? A need is something you have to have, must have. And different theories are going to define this as a survival need, or a psychological emotional need, an environmental need. There's many different needs here, but it is a must-have. And a drive can be a want as well. So it could be a need or a want. So want is specific there, okay? That's a want. Now, I don't think I need to get into the specifics between what a want is and what a need is, but if I need to, let's talk about that in class. Okay. Now, here we are. Theories of motivation. Theories are driven by questions. So each one of the theories that I'm about to show you had a specific question that drove it into being, right? So there was a specific question that somebody pursued, just like our research we've done in this class, and then eventually, over time, that became so confirmed that a theory was developed. So, what are some questions that we ask? Why are we attracted to certain people? Why do we dress up when we go out on a date? Why do we strive to succeed? What would make you take any kind of risk? Why do people misuse food? Why do we overeat? Why do we starve ourselves, right? So these are lots of questions, especially with motivation. You're going to see a lot of association with hunger, and we have a whole video dedicated to that. All right, first theory, instinct theory. This is you're pushed to do things. So remember, pulled is external, pushed is internal. So instinct, internal. Use all those context clues there, right? We have instinct here. Oh, let me pick a different color. We've got instinct here, right? In for instinct, right? So pushed is in, internal. Okay, evolutionary theory. Charles Darwin, we've all heard of this guy, right? Survival of the fittest. He argues that there are two things that motivate you to do anything. One is survival, you don't die, and two is to reproduce, to further the species. So there are a lot of good things about this theory, right? It's nice and clean and simple and neat, and it satisfies a lot of our issues. But then there are others. Why do we put up with all the drama of relationships? Do we need a relationship to survive? Is that a necessary connection? Or is there something else going on here? So evolutionary theory has a hard time explaining why we form long-lasting relationships. Now, one thing, it could be survival, right? But mostly we have romantic relationships to reproduce, according to this theory. But there's so much more that goes into our romantic relationships than just reproduction. So why? Why do we have them? This theory has some holes and weaknesses in the sense that it can't really explain and sum that up so well. Drive reduction theory, this is pushed. So, we just talked about a pull, right? Oh no, sorry, we talked about a pushed. So drive reduction theory, this is also an internal theory, right? Pushed is internal, something inside you is pushing you towards it. So it's also a biological theory. So when we think biological, we're going to think which one? Biological, we think what? Behaviorist, perhaps? If you said behaviorist, that might be our case. We'll have this conversation in class, which one this works out with, which one of our theories. All right, so this is A physiological need creates a psychological drive to reestablish homeostasis in the body. So you're hungry and your body's going to tell you that you need to go eat, right? So we're connecting a physiological need with a psychological drive in this one. When the physiological need increases, so does the psychological drive. When the need is met, that should say met, not net, the drive is reduced, okay? So this is really plain and simple. Whatever's going on inside your body, all the physical stuff of your body is telling your brain how to behave. And you will behave that way until you satisfy that need. Now, this theory also has some weaknesses in the sense that people behave in certain ways that have nothing to do with what their physical body is telling them to do, right? There's certainly things that you've done in your life that have absolutely nothing to do with your physicality. I'm sure you can think of a few examples. Try to do so for class. Optimal arousal theory. So this is pushed as well. This is also an internal theory. And this argues that we all have certain levels of arousal that need to be met. Each one of us is a unique individual, and we all need to satisfy a certain level that's different than anyone else. And we're motivated to reach that level. We want it to be optimal. We want the optimum level. So, go back. So there's no homeostasis that we're just trying to meet. It's not biological. It's just what it is. So you feel driven to experience stimulation through all sorts of variety of means, through curiosity, information seeking, risk taking, looking for the rush, and things. And this is mostly a psychological theory. Let's see if you can come up with some holes for that theory when we talk about it in class. The Yerkes-Dodson law. So this is a chart. These guys did some research and they found that this applies. So this is basically just showing you when arousal occurs. So prior to arousal, as you're moving up this line right here, you have an increasing attention and interest that is distinctly correlated with your level of arousal. Your level of performance goes up as your level of arousal goes up, okay? So when you're not really interested in something, poor performance, really weak, right? Kind of like when you're not interested in class, you don't put your all into it, right? When you are really interested in something, high, strong performance, you put your all into that. As soon as you have satisfied your arousal, maybe it's curiosity, maybe you're done with psychology and it no longer piques your interest, then your performance is going to go down. You're going to slump in here. You're not going to be interested anymore, and so therefore you're not going to put any effort into it. So you have impaired performance because they're calling this anxiety, but could also be disinterest, right? Also, what we're talking about here, though, is when your arousal is way too high with anxiety, what they're talking about, way too high, then your performance is also going to be impaired. So those of you who had test anxiety and you studied and you did amazing when you studied, and you come in and then you do poorly on the test, it could be because of this anxiety. So what are your thoughts on the Yerkes-Dodson law and about optimal arousal theory? All right, incentive theory. This is pulled. This is the only external theory that I have showed you so far. Okay, so pulled, external. This is extrinsic motivation, okay? You're motivated by some external goal. There's a reinforcement or a punishment. This helps pull our behaviors in certain directions. Here are keywords, guys. So when I said earlier that other one could be behavioral, not at all. This one is behavioral. But I am curious to see what you came up with for the other one if you did not decide on behavioral for that one. The other one people do think of as behavioral sometimes, and it's very tricky. It is not. This one, reinforcement, punishment, behaviorist theory, okay? So intrinsic. So there's extrinsic motivators, and then there's intrinsic motivators for this theory. The incentive theory is also that there's an internal component. So this is also a cognitivist theory as well as a behaviorist theory. We are motivated internally by how something makes you feel, right? So you try something new and you love it. Don't you just want to keep doing that because you love it? That would be your intrinsic motivator. Extrinsic motivator would be like, maybe you like school and that's all well and dandy, but if you're not getting good grades, you don't like it very much, right? So your extrinsic motivator here would be grades. All right, let's see what else is left. Humanistic theories. This is also an external theory. So pulled here, right? Maslow's hierarchy, we've already talked about Maslow's hierarchy, so should be fully aware, but the line starts from the bottom and goes up. So basically the argument is that your needs are prioritized in specific stages and in a specific order, and your motivation depends on the stage. Your motivation to, satisfy that need depends on what stage you're in. So people strive for self-actualization always, this top bar here, but we've got to satisfy these physiological needs. So depending on which stage you're in indicates what your motivation level is. So if you're in belongingness and love, that's the stage you're in right now that needs to be satisfied, you have high motivation here, okay? You have high motivation, but you really have low motivation for self-actualization at this point, okay? You definitely are getting these needs satisfied, so you have less motivation for these than you have for the stage you're currently in, but you still have a much higher motivation for these two than you have for self-motivation, okay? All right, that is going to do it for today's podcast, everybody. This is just something really funny that I saw that I thought you would like. So determination, anything is possible if you have the intelligence and the willpower to make it happen. Willpower being motivation. That's all for now, everybody. We will see you next time.